we're late
The
on
last
the
thing
bill.
will be
Where are
a
you?
quick discussion.
The city is strict on that.
Surely we can.
I don't
Are
have,
you having to
Go to
pay
the
cash now?
go to page 10.
yeah,
Page 10.
Yeah, the
Page
police
9
I
department,
intended that said the
the
city.
police department gives me a ride over.
Nice. I
okay.
intended that said they wouldn't take her cash.
Folks, it is now 4:30, and we will
Okay.
proceed with the
Legal action.
June the
Do this
14th
other stuff first, huh?
City Council Strategic Planning
Action,
meeting.
denial action.
And I'll turn it over right now.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The first item on the agenda is the individual defense costs and defense provisions in the Angelia James versus City of Monroe et al. And tonight is to hold a hearing on a recommendation that I've made to defend and pay any amounts due related to the individual claims that were made against all of you as mayor, mayor pro tem, and council, and our former mayor, Bobby Kilgore, with regard to the A-motion process, which ultimately resulted in the removal of Ms. James from council. As you know, on the April 23rd, 2022, former council member James filed a complaint in the United States District Court for the Western District of North Carolina, alleging claims against the city and all of you related to the A-motion process. The complaint raised claims against you in your individual capacities, claiming that your actions on November 9th, December 2021, December 13th of 2021, and April 27th of 2022 violated her free speech rights and denied her equal protection under the laws. As the claims against you are only in your individual capacity, the city has to evaluate whether or not it will pay claims made against a current or former member of the city council in their individual, not their representative capacity. And this takes us back to an August 3rd, 1993 resolution of the Monroe City Council establishing a uniform standard under which claims or civil judgments sought or entered against city officials and employees shall be paid. And that governs this process we're going to go through tonight. In my investigation and consultations with the city attorney, that has allowed me to conclude that the actions complained of appeared to have taken place during city council meetings and in your role of the current and former members of the council. While Ms. James' attorneys have labeled the claim as brought against you in your individual capacity, it appears that the claims are related to your work as members of city council in your role as city council members. However, my decision related to the fact that the claims are styled as against you in your individual capacities. So following my investigation and in accordance with the resolution, I'll make the following recommendation to City Council. As the claims are related to your actions in an individual capacity, the City of Monroe will defend in any claims in each named defendant's individual capacity or pay any claim or judgment related to any matters related in such named defendant's individual capacity. This includes the retention of an attorney on each named defendant's behalf. In my judgment, this is because the claims and the supporting do not meet the exceptions under the resolution where the city would choose to make a decision otherwise. And now I recommend that council approve providing payment of claims or a defense on claims related to your individual capacity. And at this time, I would ask council to conduct that hearing on this recommendation. And I'll turn it over to our city attorney to guide us through that hearing process.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. With respect to this matter, the interim city manager has laid out what the investigation has revealed. and then, of course, what the requirements are under the August 3, 1993 resolution. So this would normally be time for a hearing where you would present any information that you have that you feel is relevant towards the determination made by the manager, although you do not have to present anything because considering that the recommendation made by the manager is to provide you with that defense. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to assist or help you in presenting anything that you wish to have heard. If there's nothing, then there is a process that because this involves you in your this involves you from a direct financial impact to yourselves, that it's going to be an odd situation where you're going to have 13 motions, one to excuse each of you, then make the decision on your case, and then move on to each member of council, finally ending with former Mayor Kilgore, who will not need to be excused because he no longer serves on council. But I'm happy to answer any questions before you go through that process.
With the exception of Mayor Holloway, I'm sorry, with the exception of myself, I've agreed to read the motion. So I'm going to read the motion starting with Mayor Holloway. Mayor Holloway will read the motion for me, and then I'll read the motion for everyone else. Motion to excuse Mayor Holloway from considering.
Before the Mayor Pro Tem does that, were there any questions from members of council? And is there any matters that are needed to be heard before the Mayor Pro Tem begins the process of going through the motions? Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, please go ahead.
Motion to excuse Mayor Holloway from considering and voting on this item as it relates to him in accordance with North Carolina General Statute Section 160A-75. Motion to approve recommendation of interim city manager.
That you've made the motion. There needs to be a second and a vote on that motion.
Same way on the first.
And then Mayor Pro Tem, then you would have a vote on that with the mayor is eligible to vote on this as well, to excuse himself.
We need to vote.
Yes, you need to vote.
I so move.
Actually, the motion's been made and seconded. Mayor Pro Tem, I would suggest that what you would do is ask the members in favor to raise their hands.
Members in favor of item 1, please raise your hand.
And for the record, that is 6-0. And then, Mayor Pro Tem, I would then ask you to read that second motion with respect to Mayor Holloway.
Motion to approve recommendation of interim city manager to defend and pay any amounts due related to individual claims against Mayor Holloway related to the case of Angelia Nicole James versus City of Monroe.
Second.
So we need a motion.
I think you've made that
You've got a second.
We have a
you have a
second.
second.
All right, everyone in favor, please raise your right hand.
Actually, Mayor Holloway, you
Duly
cannot vote.
seconded.
Okay, I'll vote, okay.
And that also passes 6-0.
You mean 5.
Remember here?
5.
All right,
You mean 5.
Sorry, 5-0.
I make a motion to excuse Mayor Pro Tem Anderson from considering and voting on this item as it relates to him in accordance with North Carolina General Statute Section 168-75.
So move.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor, please signify by raising your hand, please. Okay, motion to approve recommendation of interim city manager to defend and pay any amounts due related to individual claims against Mayor Pro Tem Anderson related to the case of Angelia Nicole James versus the City of Monroe.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by raising your hand.
Mayor Pro Tem Anderson is not eligible to vote. So that would be a 5-0 vote.
Okay.
Motion to excuse Councilmember Gordon from considering and voting on this item as it relates to him in accordance with North Carolina General Statute Section 168-75.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion to approve recommendation of interim city manager to defend and pay any amounts due related to individual claims against Councilmember Gordon related to the case of Angelia Nicole James versus City of Monroe.
I'll second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Freddie, you good?
Actually, Freddie is ineligible.
I don't get to vote.
All right. Motion to
Madam City
excuse.
Clerk, with respect to the first motion, with respect to Councilmember Gordon, I believe he didn't vote, but he wasn't excused yet, therefore that would be a 6-0 vote.
Okay, well. I thought the excusing was in the first section.
Excusing was the first, yeah. And you're able to vote to excuse
Oh, on the
yourself.
second motion, you're able to vote?
The first motion, not the second.
Oh, okay, all right.
That gets you to
I
council.
was paying attention, but I think I misunderstood.
It's okay, this is something that no one has to, normally you don't have to do it quite this way.
Yeah.
Motion to excuse Councilmember Carr from considering and voting on this item as it relates to him in accordance with North Carolina General Statute, Section 160A-75.
So moved.
All in favor, please raise your right hand.
You can vote on that one, yes, sir.
A motion to approve recommendation of interim city manager to defend and pay any amounts due related to individual claims against council member Carr related to the case of Angelia Nicole James versus City of Monroe.
A second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion to excuse Councilmember Keziah from considering and voting on this item as it relates to him in accordance with North Carolina General Statute, Section 160A-75.
So moved.
All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Did you have a second? I believe,
Well,
because it sounded like Mayor Pro Tem Anderson made the motion, but I did see Councilmember Carr also made the motion, but if you would treat that as a second.
Hey,
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to approve recommendation of interim city manager to defend and pay any amounts due related to individual claims against Councilmember Keziah related to the case of Angelia Nicole James versus City of Monroe.
I'll second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion to excuse Councilmember Thompson from considering and voting on this item as it relates to her in accordance with North Carolina General Statute, Section 160A-75.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Lynn, can that just count as a second? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Councilmember Keziah can count as a second. You just need to have a vote now on that item.
Motion to approve recommendation of interim city manager to defend and pay any amounts due related to individual claims against Councilmember Thompson related to the case of Angelia Nicole James versus City of Monroe.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Madam City Clerk, I think on that first vote, I think it may have been a little unclear, but it looked like that one was approved 6-0.
Correct.
Thank you.
And finally, motion to approve recommendation of interim city manager to defend and pay any amounts due related to individual claims against former Mayor Bobby Kilgore related to the case of Angelia Nicole James versus City of Monroe.
A second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Mayor and Council, thank you for doing that. That is, again, an unusual thing that you've had to do, because typically, you're all not sued in your individual capacity, but your former colleague has chosen to do many interesting things in this case. And with that, Mayor, we have completed item 1.
Okay. Right, we're back with number 2.
All right. This is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinance, Title III, Administration, Chapter 32, Boards, Commissions, and Departments, Downtown Advisory Board, and Mayoral Committees. The purpose of the amendment is to revise Section 32.105, Downtown Advisory Board, to change the number of members to 7, to be consistent with the number of city council seats. In addition, Section 32.301, mayoral committees, is also being recommended to be revised to be changed to 7 members. The proposed revision would make all committees equal and would be implemented by attrition as done in an earlier revision for the Planning Board, Historic District Commission, and the Board of Adjustments. Staff recommends City Council adopt an ordinance amending Section 32 titled Boards, Commissions, and Departments as outlined above.
Second.
You looking for a motion?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor, if you would signify by raising your hand, please. Okay, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mayor. The last item is an update on the court action concerning the current vacancy on City Council and vacancy discussion. As you discussed at your prior meeting, at your May meeting, the goal would be for the council to select a replacement for the vacancy on council, perhaps at this meeting. However, during the course of hearing the case, District Court Judge Conrad asked that the city wait until he had completed a hearing on the motion for preliminary injunction before filling any vacancy. That hearing took place on Friday. However, Judge Conrad has not yet, as of a few minutes ago, issued a decision. Therefore, at the request of Judge Conrad, in order to comply with his request, we would ask that you not fill that position today. You may, of course, fill it after. We would anticipate that before your July meeting, we would have a decision from Judge Conrad. I anticipate a decision sometime this week, but if I predict when, it will, of course, then be later than intended. If I don't give you a time and a date, it will be in the next 5 minutes. So our recommendation would be to take no action at this point in time. If the council wishes to have a continued discussion on the process of filling the vacancy, that is up to council. I do know you did discuss that at your last meeting and may have arrived at a conclusion as to the process you'd like to follow, but we're happy to assist you in any way.
Any questions for Jim regarding this?
I feel like the statement that Mr. Gordon read at the last meeting was sufficient.
All right. Anything else? I will now recess the meeting and we'll reconvene at 6 p.m.